Hey guys, JamesMCD's here. Welcome to another TV log, and today we're going to be talking about Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is the new live-action reboot series based on the beloved animated series Avatar: The Last Airbender. If you haven't already, be sure to check out my previous TV log that I did on all 3 seasons of the animated series, as well as my bottom of the bucket list video talking about the god-awful 2010 M. Night Shyamalan movie. But to cut a long story short, I really enjoyed watching Avatar. I didn't get to watch it when it was airing, but I'm glad that I finally caught up with the rest of the world and watched it now because, yeah, big shocker, it's amazing. Going into this live action series, I wasn't really sure how to feel, because on the one hand I was like, if the right people are involved, this could be a very cool, very respectful, you know, different adaptation of this source material. If the wrong people are involved, we could just get another Last Airbender 2010 situation where it's just a complete butchering of the source material and is only made to cash in on the Avatar name because it's popular. There were a lot of things and drama that had come out before the show was going to be airing of the original creators were involved and then they dropped out because they didn't like the direction that the show was going. We kept hearing about all the different story changes and character changes and things that were going to be in the show. The trailers kept me cautiously optimistic, and finally, after getting through all 8 episodes, I am happy to report that while it's definitely not perfect and it doesn't even hold a candle to the original animated series, this was actually pretty solid. It managed to hit all of the story beats that it needed to in order to properly adapt book 1 of this show, while also making enough changes to be its own thing. It wasn't just a complete retread. It felt like it justified its own existence with the changes that it made. Some of them worked, some of them didn't, and I'll get into those in a little bit. There are fewer episodes this time around, but the episodes themselves are a lot longer, so they can include a lot more in terms of, you know, story development, character development, everything like that, and just getting the characters to these different points. One of the concerns that people had was that they were saying that Aang wasn't going to be going on little side quests or having little filler adventures, and they work some of those into these episodes, so they're not completely gone. There's definitely not as much as in the original show. They don't ignore them completely. They do still give them enough time to breathe while also acknowledging that they have a goal that they need to reach, like getting to the North Pole, so that Aang can learn water bending and, you know, further his training as the Avatar. In terms of visuals and production design, this was something that was on full display in the trailers, but the show is absolutely gorgeous. That is the one big concern in adapting animation into live action, is how can you still make it look like the show while also having all these restrictions. That was one of the biggest problems with the Last Airbender movie, to the furthest extent, and that half of it didn't even look like the people involved had even seen the show. With here, it's bright, it's colorful, the worlds that they explore are so dense and beautiful looking. The visual effects, some definitely work better than others, but for the most part, the visual effects look really good, but they also balance it out with a lot of practical sets. The looks of all the characters, the costumes, everything, they all look exactly like their animated counterparts. The action is a lot more fast-paced and energized. The bending looks so much better. The visual effects on the bending especially. They actually play to the strengths of why the bending is so cool in the TV show, because it's fast-paced and super high-octane, and they take advantage of all the cool things that you can do with these powers and controlling the different elements and everything like that, and it just looks really cool. Even on more of a technical side, things like the music and the score and everything like that. I'm assuming it's a mostly original score, but they do use different motifs that were in the original. They have certain theme music that is, you know, that are direct callbacks to the original show. There's one scene in a flashback with Iroh and Zuko that uses a song that was used in the Tales of Ba Sing Se, and that scene nearly brought me to fucking tears. But it's just those little details that really emphasize how much the people involved in this love what they're making and they love the source material. The acting is admittedly kind of a mixed bag. There are some awkward deliveries and some kind of cheesy lines and everything like that, but for the most part, all the actors do a really good job. They all portray their characters really well. The characters themselves are all basically, for the most part, you know, correct and accurate. Aang, like, he's not just, you know, a blank slate with no personality who is just there to have exposition dumped onto him and, you know, talk about tragedy and everything. Like, he is definitely, you know, very guilt-ridden for, like, you know, letting the air nomads die and running out on his responsibility and stuff. But he still keeps that, like, childlike innocence and everything like that, and he is still, you know, very fun-loving. And the connection that builds between him, Katara, and Sokka is just really great to watch. Katara is just as much of a badass as she is in the animated series while still keeping that sort of, like, caring instinct and everything like that. Sokka is a little bit more of a wisecracker, but he's also a bit more, like, militaristic, and he's less, like, zany as the animated one, and a lot of his humor is a lot more dry. Zuko and Iroh were just as good as they are in the animated series. I just love those two characters in general. Like I said, there were a lot of structural changes to the layout of the story, and some of them work and some of them really don't. A lot of the characters that are brought over from, you know, later seasons into this season are kind of, like, mismanaged a little bit. Like, I really did like seeing the genocide of the air nomads at the beginning, because it does really emphasize sort of just the tragedy of, you know, Aang wasn't there to save his friends, and he was, you know, caught off guard by, you know, him being announced as the Avatar and having to take up all this responsibility and leave his friends and everything like that. I do kind of wish that, like, they kept it how it was in the show of him, like, you know, choosing to run off and freeze himself in the ice as opposed to just getting caught up in a rough storm and, like, almost drowning. But it got the same effect across, in my opinion. I don't really think you needed to have the Fire Lord in this season. Like, I think you could have kept him for flashbacks like they do in the original and still gotten the point across. Like, they do, like, I don't think it's because of the character. I think actually, like, the way he's portrayed in this season is really good, and he is great at being, you know, an asshole and abusive to his kids. And he does look pretty cool, like, a lot more so than, you know, the whatever the fuck the 2010 movie was trying to do with Fire Lord. But I just don't think you really needed him to be, like, center stage. Like, I like the idea of, you know, Zuko and Iroh being sort of the primary antagonists, and then even later on, like, Commander Zhao steps into a more prominent, like, villain role towards the second half of the season. And that's the other thing, is Commander Zhao, like, I don't think is done nearly as well in this as in the animated series, because, like, there he had a little bit more time to have his character fleshed out. He had a few more interactions with the characters and a couple more run-ins with Aang and everything like that, to where, you know, when he finally does what he does at the end of the show, I won't give it away for those of you who haven't seen it, but, like, you know, the impact is a lot more there, and you see him more as, like, a threat than he ends up being in this one. Azula, I just don't think you needed to have in here at all. Like, I feel like the way she was portrayed, like, wasn't all that great. Like, I feel like they kind of did a misstep with that, and again, I just feel like you should have saved her for, like, an after credits thing, or, like, maybe a few flashbacks here and there, but I don't think she needed to be, like, super prominent throughout this season. But again, all these things I'm saying are very, very minor nitpicks, and, like, considering, like, how things could have gone, I feel like we should count ourselves lucky that this turned out as good as it did. Like I said, it's not going to be the original series, because nothing could ever be the original series, but as its own thing, for what it is, as a retelling of this story, I really think that they did a good job. And I mean, again, like I was saying, just in, like, the little details from the music, the visuals, like, certain cameos and characters that are brought back for this show, you can tell that this was made by fans of the original, and they wanted to do right by this property because it means so much to so many people and it means so much to them from what it looks like. So yeah, like I said, while it's definitely not perfect, I would still recommend giving this a shot. All 8 episodes are available on Netflix now, so give them a watch. I would still say start with the animated series just so you have a frame of reference, but after you do that, definitely give this a shot because I really enjoyed it. So I would have to give season 1 of Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender a 4 out of 5. But anyway, that does it for this video. Let me know in the comments if you've seen the new Netflix Last Airbender show. Do you like it? Do you hate it? How does it compare to the original? And are you excited to see more of this show? Let me know that stuff down below. I've got more videos coming real soon, but until then, be sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you can stay up to date on when I'm posting. Follow me on all my social media, subscribe to my main channel. Everything you need to know will be in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later.